Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Shri Jayendra Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology part, that is the animal science. My dear students, in the previous lectures, we were on the theories of organic evolution, in which we learn about Lamarckism. Now, what are the different critics of different researchers against the Lamarckian theory? Then neo-Lamarckism, which is more advanced in comparison to Lamarckism. Then Darwinism, and now we are going to discuss some contrasting characters between Darwinism and Lamarckism. According to Lamarckism, this theory basically suggests that there is an internal vital force in all organisms. So according to Lamarckism, there is an internal vital force in all organisms which is responsible for the growth in size of organs and organism. But on the contrary, Darwinism says that there is no internal vital force. Darwinism says that all species of organisms arise and develop through the concept of natural selection. When there is no internal vital force, which basically is a stimulating factor for the growth of organs or organism, or for the formation of some new characters. These new characters are basically dependent upon natural selection. Okay. In the Darwinism theory, I made you learn different points of the salient features of Darwinism theory, in which the very first was overproduction. And there are many points, okay, in which the natural selection is one of the most uh, I mean, uh, informative and suggestive criteria considered by Darwinism for the formation of new species or for the variations, for the evolution. Secondly, Lamarckism, he basically, according to his thoughts, that new needs or desires produce new structures and change habits of organisms. Okay, so according to Lamarck, there are new needs and desires which are responsible for production of new structures, right? And according to Darwin, these new characters or new formations, new species, evolution, change, they do not form part of Darwin's natural selection theory. It means, according to Darwinism, the change in the characters, the change in the habits, they actually are not part of Darwin's natural selection theory. So according to Darwin, or Darwinism, which was proposed by Darwin, Darwin and Russell Wallace, Alfred Russell Wallace, so this point is not considered in their theory. So first point was of internal vital force, and the second point I am considering, the second point, mean change in habits or new needs are not a part of Darwin's theory. Darwin's theory or Darwinism. Then that is why it is clearly mentioned, does not accept Darwin's natural selection theory. does not accept the internal vital force concept. So both of these theories, they were contradictory to each other. According to Lamarck, in any organ, if there is an organ which is constantly being used, it will be have a better development, or it will be more developed in comparison to the other parts. That is why according to Lamarck, theory of use and disuse of organs. Theory of use and disuse of organs. But according to Darwin, an organ can develop further or degenerate only due to continuous variation. So third point, an organ can develop further or degenerate only due to continuous variations. Right? Now, according to Lamarck or Lamarckism, it does not consider struggle for existence. Struggle for existence and survival of fittest was not accepted by Lamarckism. Struggle for existence and survival of the fittest are two major factors for Darwinism. Okay, so the fourth point is the struggle for existence was not accepted by Lamarckism. Struggle for existence and survival of fittest, while according to Darwinism, struggle for existence and survival of the fittest, they are the two major factors. Now, fifth point, according to Lamarckism, all acquired characters are inherited by next generation. Mean all the acquired characters, they are inherited to next generation. And according to Darwinism, only useful variations they are going to transfer over successive generations. Sorry. So according to Lamarckism, all the characters which are inherited, which I am carrying in my whole lifespan, or you are carrying in your whole lifespan, that will be transferred to your next generation. But according to Darwin says that no, only those variations which are useful for me, I am adapted to those variations, they are only going to transfer. According to Lamarck, this point, the transfer of acquired characters, it is basically been given or tried to prove right by different scientists, especially in the neo-Lamarckism. Okay, but exactly speaking, the acquired characters, the inheritance of acquired characters is somewhat which is subjected to environmental influences. When it is not combat or it is not mandatory, that always it is going to happen that acquired characters are going to transfer. So this is what about Darwinism versus Lamarckism. I'll go through the points again. According to Lamarckism, there is an internal vital force which is responsible for the growth of body, which is responsible for the upcoming of new characters. But according to Darwinism, no. There is no vital force which is responsible for upcoming of new characters. It is basically the natural selection, which plays a driving role in making a new character or making of a new species. Then according to Lamarckism, new needs or desires, they basically responsible for the production of new structures. But according to Darwinism, there is no internal vital force, there is no need, and he haven't kept this point in his theory. Third point, theory of use and disuse of organ was proposed by Lamarckism, that the organ which is more in use will be developed more. It is partially right, but according to Darwin, an organ can develop further or degenerate depending upon continuous variations. If the variations are being depositing on a continuous way, then only the organ can either upgrade or it can degenerate. Struggle for existence and survival of fittest was not accepted by Lamarckism, but according to Darwin, they were the key main features for causing evolution. Okay? According to Lamarckism, the acquired characters are transferred from one generation to next generation, but according to Darwinism, acquired characters, not all acquired characters, only the characters which are useful, they are going to transfer. Okay? Now coming to next, theory of pangenesis. In between the Darwinian era and the upcoming of mutational theory given by Hugo de Vries, there were many theories which came into existence, like theory of pangenesis. According to this theory, all organs of an individual produce pangenes, which are minute particles carrying information about the organs. The pangenes traveling through the bloodstream will ultimately reach the gametes, so that each gamete will have pangenes for each of the different organs. After zygote formation, the pangenes tend to form same organs from which these pangenes were produced. So, the idea is basically reflecting the formation of a new individual from the previous one with the formation of gamete. But the fact is, not every organ is contributing in the formation of zygote. It is only germinal cells who are responsible for zygote formation. Because if they're like pangenes and each organ is contributing in the zygote formation or in the when they are basically attributing to release their own pangenes, separate pangenes. Okay. So these pangenes, while undergoing the process of fertilization, they might suffer some changes and might be the structure and the function of a particular organ. It can vary. So that is why the organs, they are basically the form or the phase of embryonic development just after the zygote formation. So it is basically the zygote and the mother who are responsible for complete formation of the embryo. Okay, it is not pangenes. Okay, understood? Now coming to the next slide, neo-Darwinism. So according to neo-Darwinism, it is a modification or a modified form of Darwinism along with recent researches of Weismann. Weismann, after the proposal of germplasm theory, neo-Darwinism, it is modified form of Darwinism only, along with recent researches of Weismann, Mendel, Hugo de Vries, and Huxley. Gates and Stevens. They performed many experiments to remove the objections against Darwin's theory when they were trying to prove Darwinian theory that it is 100% authentic and right. But the fact is, no true theory of that time basically is able to explain all the questions of the researchers with the same fact, because they were unknown about genetic mutations. They were unknown about the genes. They were unknown about the role of DNA. Because according to Darwin, it was nature who is actually playing a most contributing role in the formation of new species. But according to mutational theories or the initials of neo-Darwinism, it was not 100% environment, it is the internal capability of DNA or the genes who are responsible for the formation of new characters. Environment, their role is non-forgettable and they are playing a very important role in the formation of new species because the resources on which the cooperating members depend, then only they can basically make the progenies to feed on those resources. If the resources are limited or there is a struggle of existence, then the formation of new progeny will also be affected. So they performed many experiments to remove the objections against the Darwin's theory. Understood? Now coming to next, what are the salient features of neo-Darwinism? So according to neo-Darwinism, rapid multiplication, all organisms multiply in geometrical ratio. And it's true that all organisms, they multiply in geometrical ratio, and that is why the total population size remains constant always. Limited food and space. So here comes the struggle. Here comes the natural selection. Understood? That food and space, they are limited, and this availability of food and space basically creates an area for struggle to exist or struggle for existence. Struggle for existence, it is of three types: intraspecific, interspecific, and environmental. The struggle of existence is of three types: intraspecific, interspecific, and environmental. Intraspecific struggle. It is a competition between the individuals of same species of same needs like food, shelter, and breeding. Most acute type of struggle. Intraspecific struggle simply means what? Okay, it is a competition between the individuals of same species. And those individuals of same species, they are basically trying to compete for food and shelter, okay, and breeding. This is the most acute type of struggle. Interspecific. It is the struggle between the individuals of different species for food and shelter. So intra means within a same species. And interspecific between species. Environmental struggle. The struggle is between the organism and their environment. So, environmental struggle means a stressful condition, a stressful climate. The struggle between the organism and the environment. All organisms struggle with cold, heat, wind, rain, drought, and flood. So there are three types of struggle. First is when the members of same species are struggling with each other for food and shelter and breeding. It is the acute type, most acute type. Then interspecific, when individuals belonging to two different species, they are basically trying to compete or for food and shelter, as they cannot breed because they are of different species. Environmental struggle. This struggle is between the organism and their environment. All organisms struggle with cold, heat, wind, rain, drought, and flood. Mean natural calamities or natural disasters. Now, in the second point, if breeding, the term breeding is added, so it is not breeding, it will be interbreeding or crossbreeding. So if crossbreeding happens, the purity of the generation will be lost, as now it will be the formation of an hybrid. Understood? That is why in the second point, the struggle, interspecific struggle, breeding term is not mentioned. So according to neo-Darwinism, which was proposed by You could have Rees, Weismann, Huxley, Mendel, Gates, Stevens. Okay. The salient features are rapid multiplication, first point, limited food and space, struggle for existence. Okay. Struggle of existence further of three types: intraspecific, interspecific, and environmental. Now coming to the next slide, genetic variations. There are inheritable variations which can occur due to the following reasons. There are many reasons, and these reasons are responsible for the inheritance, means passing on the variations from one generation to the next. Like mutation. They are discontinuous variations, so according to in mutations. They are discontinuous variations, they are sudden, they are jerky, which develop due to the permanent changes in genotype. Okay, the mutations, they are discontinuous, they are jerky, they are sudden, and because of this, the permanent changes in the genotype happens. Mutations, there are three types: genomic mutations, change in number of chromosomes; chromosomal aberrations, change in number of chromosome; genetic mutations and gene mutations, change in nucleotide. So in genomatic mutations, there is change in number of chromosomes. In chromosomal aberrations, there is a change in overall number of chromosomes, and gene mutations, they are change in nucleotide. The mutations, they also help in coming up with gene variations, and these genetic variations, they are very much responsible for formation of new species. Understood? That is why the mutational theory play a very important role when we consider about the points of evolution. Okay, that okay, if there is change in number of chromosomes, then what is going to happen? It's very simple. If the number of chromosomes are changed, then the organism will not resemble to the parent, and that is why it could be considered that organism is being evolved. It is a member of new species. That is why to maintain the same gene pool, to maintain the same gene sequence, it is mandatory to have the same number of chromosomes. Understood? So these genetic variations, they are very important for actually understanding the fact of that how genes are actually responsible for all these changes. Understood? Chromosomal aberrations, they are also change in number of chromosomes. Okay, so if the number of chromosomes change, there will be some additional characteristics or some, we can say, absence of required characteristics can happen. Because of this, a particular protein or an enzyme becomes non-functional, okay, or it is produced in excessive amount, which leads to changes in the different body parts and different body forms. Now there is gene mutation, third point, which is change in nucleotide. Understood? Now, gene recombination. There are new combination of genes which are usually caused by crossover. Mean at the time of meiotic division, mean meiosis, or the formation of gamete, maybe there is a chance of having the same set which is going to be transferred as a parent. Okay, mean the gene sequence which is transferred will identical to the parent, no changes, no new characteristics. And the other one is maybe there is a chance of having new characters because the homologous pair of chromosomes, they are going to crossing over. So when these homologous pair of chromosomes will cross over, the information will be transferred. And as the information will be transferred, what will happen? There will be the upcoming of new characters. That is why it is mentioned that gene recombination means adding up of new characters, new genes, okay, which are responsible for, which is caused by crossing over. Hybridization and gene migration. It is crossing of organisms which are genetically different in one or more traits. Hybridization in the preparation of high yielding varieties or in the preparation of transgenic animals? With the help of genetic engineering, biotechnology, it is done that okay, crossing of organisms which are genetically dissimilar can lead to the formation of some new characteristics, transgenic animals, or mean formation of new animal. Random genetic drift. Genetic drift, it is the elimination or addition of genes of a certain character when some animals in the population migrate or dies or immigrate. Okay. Mean according to genetic drift, which is considered random, it is very clearly mentioned that okay, all these changes are because of genes, mean gene pool. So if in a population living might be some individuals they are having some characteristics which are not actually the common characteristic of that group. It means that part of population, that personnel's individuals they have been come from some different area, and that is why they are having some distinct characteristics. So it is very important to know that elimination or addition of genes of certain characters is basically due to immigration, immigration, or the mortality. It changes the gene frequency of remaining population. Now the survivors, they will be affected because of these gene frequencies. The genetic drift operates only in small population. Always remember that genetic drift always it basically occurs or it basically make a part in small population. Changes in frequency of genes in a gene pool is called drift. Change in the frequency of genes to express okay in a gene pool is called genetic drift. Understood? Okay. So according to genetic variations, mutations, they are considered to be the cause for variations, mean formation of new characters. Mutations are always discontinuous, they are random, they are jerky, and they may lead to the permanent changes. Okay. Mutations, there are three types: chromosomal aberrations, gene mutations, and genomatic mutations. Okay. Chromosomal aberrations basically they involve change in the number of chromosome. Genomatic mutation mean there is a change in whole genome, okay, overall. And gene mutation, change in nucleotide, okay. Then genetic recombination, formation of a recombinant, mean a formation of a combination of different characters which can lead to the formation of or lead to the expression of different characters in the coming individual. Then hybridization and gene migration, which is done perpetually because of getting the transgenic animals or the animals of different traits. Random genetic drift. Genetic drift is always random, and genetic drift basically help us to understand the changes in gene frequency of the survivors, mean the remaining population. Genetic drift operates only in small population, okay, because changes in frequency of genes they can be only registered in small population. If the population size is very high, then might be you cannot notice the change. Okay. Now coming to next, founder effect, very important. Suppose there is a population size which is given, for example, it has been given in the form of diagram that ancestral population frequencies, okay, in the population they which were living in that area, okay, previously. The original red ones 50, green ones 50. So previously it was like 50% of the original population. But because of some changes imposed by environment, because of some changes, internal changes, because of change in DNA, the total population size will remain same, but the ratio between 50% it might change. It might change, okay. Like for example, in this closet, it is clearly mentioned that founder population frequencies red and green after splitting, mean when they are detached. For example, I am having 100 balls of red and green type, 100 balls. Okay, and now I am basically shaking all these balls so that they can mix with each other. And now I am distributing in three different forms. Okay, in three different forms, might be one form is having more number of green balls, So red will be lesser. Might be red and green, they will be 50-50%, and might be only red. So there are chances, and these chances they are known as what? Extremes. So according to founder effect, gene pool is the sum total of all the genes found in a population. And it's right. Change in frequency of gene in a gene pool is called genetic drift. That's also right. Genetic drift always operates in small population. Yeah, because it is a slow change and that is why it evolves in a small population. By genetic drift, often the phenotype of this small population quickly become different from the parent. Okay, why genetic drift is basically influencing the small part, because that small part, maybe it is the maximum fit proportion among all the population, and this fit proportion means survival of fittest is going for existing there independently, dominantly. Why? Because it is having many characteristics which can be dominated on the individuals or the other population members. That is why it can be happen either ways. Okay. So the genetic drift, it basically affects the small part of the population and it quickly becomes different from the parental population. And sometimes it forms a new species. Such an effect is called founder's effect. You understood? Okay. You can easily resemble that you are having a box having 100 balls. Now you are shaking that box, okay, and now these 100 balls are distributed in different parts, okay. So every part will not be identical, okay, because there are some individuals which are more adapted, there are some individuals which are less adapted, there is an average, okay, and the average size of the population remains constant. That is why I am taking it again and again, that the size of the population, that size is the average size of the population. I hope you understood about the founder effect. Okay, now there is bottleneck effect. According to bottleneck effect, you can see that in any bottle there is a constricted area. Death of several members of a population due to natural calamities like earthquake, storm, flood also leads to genetic drift, obviously, because the population size will change. Change in population size. And as the population size will change, what will happen? Because of the change in population size, the breeding habit, the struggle, it will also change. The original size of the population is then restored by mating among the survivors. Those who are dead, they are dead. But those who are living, those who are survivors, those survivors now they are basically undergoing the process of breeding and they will maintain the population size. The new population may lack the genes of certain. The new population which is formed, they may don't have some of the previous characters, and on adding to it, they may have some characters which the previous generation was not happening. The fact is, before coming of any natural disaster, pre and post, they are not identical. Why? Previously, the condition was different. Maximum of us or animals or any of the species adapted to it. Now, post, many of us, many of them, they have died. Some of them are living, now they are mating. They are mating, now they have to adapt to the new environment, and that is why they have to come up with new characters. This may produce a new species after some time. The loss of section of population by death, after some time, a new species is formed, which is known as what? Bottleneck. You can see the bottleneck, drastic reduction in the population. For example, now you are having many balls in this, which is basically representing the parent population. if you invert the bottle, only some of the population they will be coming down. Kyun? Why? The neck part is constricted, and this neck part constricted means it is a stress. It is a natural calamity. So many of them they are dead, they remain in the bottle. Some of them they are survived, and now they will multiply to form or to fill the bottle. Okay. So this is the bottleneck effect, and this is the founder neck effect we discussed. They are the most frequently asked questions in your examination. So please go through each and every of the aspects of these effects. Now coming to next, the difference between founder effect and bottleneck effect. Founder effect. The phenomenon which occurs, I'll change the ink. Founder effect. The phenomenon which occurs when a small group of individuals become isolated from the large population. The founder effect is when, for example, you are having 100 balls, yellow balls. Now, out of 100 balls, suppose 2 or 3 balls are isolated. Okay. Now, after this isolation of a small part from the large population, this small part is going to now further breed because they have to survive. According to bottleneck effect, the phenomenon which occurs when a population rapidly decreases in size. So, out of 100, 2 are there. Okay. For better explaining the example, I'll not take 2, I'll take 50 or 80. Okay, when 80% of the population is still having the same environment, they are adapted to it. But in case of bottleneck effect, out of 100, 80 have died, only 20 are remaining. So those 20 are adapted to that area. Okay, on the origin of the bottleneck effect, so founder effect is seen on the origin of the bottleneck effect, and bottleneck effect can have different origins. Okay. So founder effect basically seen on the origin of bottleneck effect. But in case of bottleneck effect, there are many origins, there are many resources, or there are many chances, there are many points where it can happen. Migration of very small individuals from the main population to the main population size will almost remains constant. A sharp reduction in the population size by environmental events like drought, flood, fires, earthquake, and diseases does not affect the original population size. Affect the original population size. Probability of inbreedings are very high. Probability of inbreedings are very, very high. Okay, because it has been the survivor only who are interbreeding. But here inbreeding is high, but maybe they can go for crossbreeding as well. Produces the population with a non-random sample of genes of the original population. I mean, they may produce a population with a non-random sampling of genes of the original population. Occurs due to the random sampling of genes from the original population because they were only survivors. That is why many of the genes they are not now with them. They actually have lost those genes in individuals, and that is why their chances of getting into the course of evolutions are very high. Bottleneck species: northern elephant seal, American bison, golden hamster. Founder neck effect populations: the French Canadians of QB, the Amish populations in the United States. So these are the some common differences or different points I have considered for founder effect versus bottleneck effect. Please go through these points again and again because many common questions come on this. Okay, a basic difference I have told you already: founder effect and the bottleneck effect. Founder effect basically it starts in the beginning of bottleneck effect only, but in case of bottleneck effect it can start anywhere. Okay. So we will be discussing further more topics in the coming lecture. Till then, take care. Bye bye. Stay safe. We'll meet in the next lecture for discussing furthermore. Bye bye, everyone.